essays, but okay, recording started. Okay, yeah, find a lot of schools that are good for your specific needs and majors and do apply to a lot of safeties. Just because at the end of the day, you do end up being able to copy and paste essay prompts and then modify for them for specific schools. I wouldn't focus. So one of the questions that they asked me was, what kind of programs, after school programs or classes do you think are helpful for the college application? I would say anything that would help you stand out. I personally like to avoid more structured programs and focus on exploring your own individual interests outside of school. Because college admissions is a lot like a book of personalities. You want to stand out from others in a really interesting way. Yeah, that's pretty much most of what I have. The rest is make sure that you take care of your health during high school. This is just a general quality of life thing. The whole reason why you're going to a good college is hopefully so that we can live a good life and make a positive impact on others. And you can't do any one of those two things if you don't, do the basics like sleep 8 hours a day, or eat well, or go out for a morning run or something like that. And I find that especially in this school, a lot of people don't take care of themselves, and so they end up handling free time in college really poorly. So it's just a bad trade-off.
Thank you so much for your suggestions, Richard. 很感谢 Richard 分享的宝贵建议。接下来呢，让我们掌声有请另一位被 UPenn 录取的应届毕业生 Stephen Liang。
Hi, my name is Stephen. I'm going to the University of Pennsylvania in the fall to study for philosophy, politics, and economics. I didn't do early decision because I didn't want to be stuck with one option. But I think if you have a dream school, I guess it's a no-brainer to do early decision. And if you're thinking about a couple schools, regular decision may be better for that. And when picking schools, I created a list of criterias that were important to me. Some of these factors included being close to home, being in a big city, and being in a medium-sized school. And when it comes to extracurriculars, I think it's better to have depth in these areas than just filling out the activity section. I personally only filled out about 4 to 5 spots, but I think all of these activities were really meaningful to me. And I think that above all else, colleges want to see commitment from you. So whether that's sports or music or science research, I think you have to commit 100%. I was a 3-season athlete for most of my time at Jericho, and I played badminton, swimming, and I ran track and field. And for music, I was part of the school band, the jazz band, and I was a vice president of the music club at my school. So whatever you do, you have to commit 100% to it.
Very nice， 谢谢 Stephen 的分享 ，Thank you so much， 谢谢你为我们讲解自己挑选大学，包括填 activity 这些的经验。那我们接下来下一位嘉宾，我们来欢迎同样被 UPenn 录取的女生 Gloria Cheng。
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay, hi, my name is Gloria. I'm going to be pursuing a dual degree at the University of Pennsylvania, specifically the business school we're in and nursing. This program is called Nursing and Healthcare Management. It's 5 years, and at the end, I'll graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing and in Business. Some things that I was involved in high school was Chinese Honor Society. I was president. I fenced for 4 years, and I was captain for the last 2. I was vice president of Model Congress. I was in De-Stress Fakery, vice president of Stitching for Care, and some other things. So first, just to talk about early decision, I actually applied to early decision to Penn, and I think it really gave me an edge to get accepted. So early decision, it can give you an edge, but I really don't think it's for everyone. It's for people who are sure about where they want to attend school. However, I would really want to read the benefits of ED. I did a quick search before this meeting, and I saw that, so this year, for early decision, the acceptance rate was 15%. However, for like overall, it was only 5%. So it definitely like if you're really committed to a certain school, I really encourage you to apply ED, especially like look at Naviance, so you can see like what the acceptance rates were earlier, just because like some university or colleges, they have a relationship with Jericho. For example, Cornell has a really good relationship. However, some other schools don't have as good a relationship. So that always is in play. I think everyone like who went in front of me, they like spoke really well about their experience and some tips. A piece of advice that I would give is that to take advantage of all the opportunities and resources at Jericho. For instance, try as many clubs as you'd like to find your passions. Actually, in my freshman and sophomore years, I sat down at the beginning of the year like with a piece of paper and I was like, I'm gonna try this club and that club. And by like the end of my high school experience, I think I tried almost every single club. And so also another thing that I'd like to mention is that like Jericho invests a lot of time, money, and energy into the administration. So really like use your teachers and guidance counselors as a resource. I still remember really clearly a few years back when I was like very stressed thinking about college and what I do in the future. And so I went to my guidance counselor and he pulled me out of like all my classes for a day and he sat me down and I did a career test. At the end of the day, like I think it was like things like a lawyer or all these things, but it like really gave me peace of mind. So I guess moral of the story is like if you ever have a question, like make sure to use like your guidance counselor. Like they're there to help you and as a resource. I think like one last thing to mention, and this doesn't really go like into like college, it kind of like applies in your life. Like make sure to try new things. Like I think that it's really important to kind of like explore your passions and interests and just to see like what you like and what you're good at. For example, like 2 weeks ago, I was in bed like at 3 a.m. before an AP and I couldn't sleep. So I created a bucket list of all the things I do in the summer. And so for example, like I have pottery. I had like, I want to try hang gliding over the summer and all these things. And so now every Friday I go to pottery classes, which is like not really related to college, but I think like a part of like college is showing that you really like to try new things and that you really want to make a mark, like wherever you are. Okay.
Thank you, Gloria. 感谢 Gloria 在给我们的分享，尤其是在社团挑选方面，她给了我们非常详细的一些经验。非常的可惜啊，接下来这位嘉宾不能参加今晚的 Senior Night，但是他非常用心的为我们做了视频。那让我们一起来观看被康奈尔大学录取 Kaydence He 同学的经验分享。
李凡没有声音。
You have to unmute yourself. Whoever's playing it, you have to unmute yourself.
李凡，你的麦克没有开。
我从头开始一下。
My name is Kaydence He, and I was accepted into Cornell University via early decision.
可以了吗？听到了吗？
可以了。
I applied to the College of Arts and Sciences because of its flexibility. I wanted to be able to explore my diverse interests through the liberal arts approach. Besides English, math, and science classes, I've enjoyed taking various electives such as Intro to Research, AP Computer Science, AP Psychology, and Business Law. And I'm going to be undecided as a freshman next year. So regarding coming up with a college list, it's very important to have a balanced list. Don't apply to all reaches and think you'll be accepted into at least one of them. Because if they are reaches, chances are you'll be rejected from all of them. Reaches are schools where you have a low chance of being accepted. Matches are schools where you have like a 50-50 chance of being accepted. And safeties are schools where you have a high chance of being accepted. It's important to have a few safeties in case you get rejected from all your reaches and matches. When choosing which colleges to put on your college list, you have to consider the location, size of the school, and majors/minors available. Also, don't apply to colleges you wouldn't be okay with attending. It would be pointless to be accepted into a school you never care to attend. Don't apply to more than maybe 20 colleges. The more colleges you apply to, the more money you have to pay, and also the more time you have to spend on your applications. I recommend creating a Google Doc for your college list to help you stay organized. So you can organize the colleges into reaches, matches, and safeties, and then cross off each one after you apply to them. You can also include the location, major, and specific school within the college you applied to. Then after you finish applying, you can put in the links to each college's admissions portal. My college list included 10 colleges. 3 of them were reaches, 4 were matches, and 3 were safeties. Don't apply early decision if you want to compare financial aid packages. And also, do not apply ED if you're not 100% sure you want to attend that school, because ED is legally binding. So if you get in, you have no choice but to go to that school. Before applying ED, you must make sure to thoroughly research the college along with other college options. And apply early action to colleges that offer it, as long as you have finished your application time and believe you've done the best you could on them. I recommend this because usually applying EA increases your chances of being accepted. And you can also put your EA apps behind you and focus on your RD apps afterwards. So this is my recommended timeline. You should finalize your college list before August, and then finish your Common App essay and your Common App activities list, along with the profile, family, education, and testing sections of the Common App before September, which is when school starts. You don't want to be stressing over this once your senior year begins. And then you should finish your ED and EA apps by November or October, depending on the deadline. Like, it varies between each college. You should also finish your RD apps before December break. That way you can enjoy the break and not stress during the holidays. And of course, before submitting every application, you should triple check for any mistakes and typos, because you cannot resubmit afterwards. Obviously, it's important to have good grades, but it's okay if your GPA wasn't good in the beginning of your high school year. You just have to improve your grades and show an upward trend. Regarding AP classes, don't let your GPA suffer by taking more AP classes than you can handle. Colleges want to see that you challenge yourself by taking harder classes, but they don't care about the number of APs you took. I took 2 APs in 10th grade, 4 in 11th, and 4 more in 12th. You should check the requirements of each college you apply to. Some colleges require maybe 3 letters of recommendation, while some only require 2. So you just need to check up on that. And it's best to ask your junior year teachers to write you letters of recommendation, because they know you more recently. Around springtime of your junior year, that's the time when you should kindly ask them to write you one. You have to give them time to write it during the summer. Also, teachers aren't required to write rec letters for you, so understand that they can easily reject you. The teachers that you ask to write your letters of recommendation should know you pretty well and think you are a great student or person. I asked 2 of my junior year teachers to write me a rec letter, one STEM teacher and one English teacher. You should take practice tests for both the SAT and the ACT to see which one better suits you. Some people do better on the SAT, while others do better on the ACT. So you just need to try to see which one you would do better on. Don't take the SAT or ACT each more than 3 times. The more times you take it, the more you have to pay. Also, if you take it many times, colleges that require you to send all of your score reports will frown upon that. I took the SAT twice and took the ACT twice. I ended up doing the best on my second attempt on the ACT, so that was the score that I submitted. With the essays, you should complete the Common App essay first because that's the one you'll need for all the colleges you apply to. If you're going to write about something you struggled with, you must emphasize how you overcame it and how you grew from it. This is the approach I use for my Common App essay. For the Why This College essay, make sure to write about the specifics for each school. Do your research on the school. Include the names of professors, classes, and clubs. You need to convince the college you want to attend their college out of all the colleges in the world. It's also really important that you do several rounds of editing for each essay. You should have some trusted mentors review your essay and give you feedback and suggestions. But no matter what, you must maintain your voice. I had my parents, uncle, and sister review my essays. Definitely be involved in your school and in your community outside of academics. This could be sports, clubs, work, community service, family responsibilities, research, etc. Colleges want to see leadership and commitment. Also, you should only participate in extracurriculars you actually enjoy and have an interest in. Colleges will see right through you if you do activities you don't care about. So my activities included piano since I was 6 years old, Chinese Honor Society from 9th to 12th grade, Superheroes Club from 10th to 12th grade, Environmental Club from 10th to 12th grade, Long Island Children's Museum from 11th to 12th grade, National Honor Society from 11th to 12th grade, and varsity swimming in 9th grade. Besides participating in these things, I had leadership positions in all of my clubs. So for Chinese Honor Society, I was a student council rep in 11th grade and the co-president of 12th grade. For my Superheroes Club, I was a secretary in my junior year and vice president in my senior year. And in my environmental club, I was the website coordinator. And for the Long Island Children's Museum, I was both a museum floor volunteer and Green Teams member. I genuinely enjoyed doing all of these activities, and I think that showed in my application. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I know that applying to college can be a very stressful process, but you just need to push through. You'll get through this. Don't be afraid to ask your guidance counselor for help. You can also always use Google to help answer any questions you may have. And of course, use your family and friends as resources. Good luck, guys.
感谢 Kaydence 的分享。总的来说，在高中4年的生活中，要在自己的能力范围之内选择一些具有挑战性的课程，但是就注意一定就是要在自己的能力范围之内。如果就是单纯的为了 AP 的数量去选一些，就是并不就是自己就是不在自己能力范围内的课程的话，就是这样反而拉低了自己的 GPA，就得不偿失。然后在校内的课程以外，就最好能拥有可以坚持很长时间的 research、体育、义工或者是社团。当然，就是如果一开始不知道自己兴趣在哪里的话，也可以像 Gloria 说的那样，就是尽可能多的去尝试。学弟学妹们在这个过程中肯定会感到辛苦和枯燥嘛，但是就只要能够坚持下来，就一定能获得成功。那当然，大学申请并不是华山一条路，就是也有很多之前这些前辈们没有提到的东西，毕竟每个人的兴趣都不同的嘛。
是的，其实，在申请美国大学的过程中，招生官除了看那些标化成绩和学术方面以外，还是很看重每个人自己的独特性。比如说，像 Richard 同学在大学申请中很好发挥了自己的音乐啊、辩论和科学方面的特长，让考官看到了他的独特的与众不同。有独特兴趣爱好的学弟学妹们都可以最大发挥自己的特长，在挑选大学的时候，也可以根据大学是否拥有符合自己的那些 major 和 program 以及 club。是的，除此之外，我就是学弟学妹们还是要在学习的过程中注意自己的健康，比如说像要注意自己的 sleep schedule 之类的，毕竟身体才是一切的本钱，就要让自己休息好，才能够更好的学习。还有一些之前 Gloria 提到的点，就是申请你挑选大学的时候，可以看 relationship of the school 到和我们学校怎么样，这可以参考应届的就是前几届的这些录取率看一下。比如说有些学校对我们学校比较友好，比如说像 Cornell 和 NYU， 它就会录取很多我们学校的学生。有一些学校是没有那么录取那么多我们学校的学生的。然后最后就是像 Kaydence 所说的，我们今年 Junior 的孩子们可以早一点开始写他的 essay 之类的，像在 August 和 September 的时候就要开始做准备了。差不多接下来。
今晚我们也很荣幸的请到了2位去年的毕业生。首先欢迎现就读于哥伦比亚大学的 Jennifer 林学姐来为我们分享她的升学以及在大学就读的经验。
Okay, so hi everyone. As you may or may not know, my name is Jennifer and I graduated from Jericho High School in 2020 last year. So I applied early decision to Columbia University and obviously I was accepted and I applied as like a pre-med major, but I switched my major to economics and computer science. So about the college application process, I think that my experience was similar to a lot of the previous panelists. So I'm just going to briefly go over it. I wrote my essays in like September and then I went through multiple drafts, but ultimately decided to apply to Columbia very close to the deadline. I don't really recommend doing that, but I always knew that I really wanted to go there, so that's why I applied ED. And then I'll be moving on to my college experience. So this year it was all virtual, and so I took all my classes from like a computer, but I was also living in a dorm like on campus. I'd say the most important thing about going to college is the people you meet and your professors. So definitely network with everyone you want to know at college, because in the end, you're paying for the experience, you're paying for the clubs and like the people you'll meet because they have similar minds as you. They obviously worked really hard to get into this school, same as you did. And all the academic stuff that you learn in college, it can really just be known from Google or like the internet, because all the knowledge is really out there. In addition to that, I'd say one thing very different from high school is balancing your classes in your life. It's very different because in college it's less regimented. You have to study at your own pace and create your own study materials. you probably heard this before, but there's not going to be your teachers or your parents to coddle you and keep you on schedule. So it's really hard to fall behind if you're not strict with yourself. Other than that, I'll talk a little bit more about my personal experience at Columbia. I decided to become an economics major because I basically applied to a bunch of clubs. And one thing I didn't know before going to Columbia is that it's so competitive to get into many different clubs. But I was lucky enough to get into one finance club. It's basically a student-run hedge fund where we pitch stocks every month, and then we decide to invest on different stocks and kind of earn a little bit of income through that way. In 23 out of 27 quarters that we've been invested in, we've outperformed the S&P 500. And other than that, I'm the treasurer for Taiwanese American Student Society, and I'm also a member of Columbia Fashion Business Society. So yeah, I definitely think it's really important to apply to a bunch of clubs. If you guys have any other specific questions about Columbia or about my experience, feel free to private message me.
非常感谢 Jennifer，Thank you， 为我们以大学生的身份来分享这些大学中的经验和活动。接下来让我们欢迎另外一位大学生，就读于麻省理工的大学的 Emily 学姐来分享她的经验。
Hello everyone. Like Jennifer, I graduated last year from Jericho High School. My name is Emily Gan, and currently I'm studying biological engineering and mathematics at MIT, where I just finished my first year. Like many others, I didn't know what college I wanted to go to for college admissions, but I'm very grateful and happy to have chosen the way that I did. And I can say that I really found like-minded people who are driven by similar motivations. So first I'll talk about my college admissions process. I actually applied to not MIT during early admissions. I applied to safety, Montana State University in Bozeman, where I did research over the summer. That was my safety because I knew that like applying there, I'd be guaranteed a lab position, and they were doing research that I was interested in because of their proximity to Yellowstone National Park. Secondly, I applied REA to Princeton, which is non-binding restricted early action. And I chose that way because my resume at the time was very well-rounded in both the sciences and humanities, and not particularly specialized. And that's what Princeton is known for, like focusing on like a very round liberal arts education. Also, in my case, there were research competitions that would come out in the middle of my senior year, and I didn't want to apply to more technical schools until I had those results, because personally, I'm not really sure if this is like true across the board, but I think that when it comes to liberal arts schools, it's a little more level of a playing field because there's a little less avenues to demonstrate like humanities-based skills rather than technical. So if you lack like international, national, regional awards for STEM things, it's easy. I think it's a better bet to apply to a liberal arts school. A little bit about my high school resume. I had leadership positions in two clubs, Model Congress and the a cappella group, and then in two sports, wrestling and volleyball. And then the rest of my extracurriculars were like various 1 to 3 year commitments. I think a lot of times people talk about how colleges prefer 4-year commitments with leadership, which definitely has some validity to it, but I think it's also important to like branch out and try different things, even if you don't pursue them, because a lot of my 1-year commitments, even if I didn't continue them throughout high school, I think they provided me with a lot of skills which helped me in my more focused interests. And personally, I focused on like acquiring or like building skill sets, like for example, debate Model Congress. I didn't continue debate, but both of them are very good for building like public speech skills. And that's like obviously essential for like most research presentations, a lot of like future academic things that you'll have to do. Obviously, I think academic achievement is going to be very important if you want to go to like a top academic college, which means that you have to demonstrate that in some way, whether that's standardized testing, like a heavy course load throughout high school and your GPA, or it can also be like extracurricular activities like research or like Olympiads and stuff like that. So I think you're not limited by your GPA or your testing. You can also demonstrate like academic excellence in many other ways, which is like a little more less of a weight on your shoulders, I think. And then moving on to my experience at MIT. I think it's really interesting taking classes in college because a lot of my high school classes were based in like courses that had like some like backing, like biology and chemistry you take in some form throughout middle school and high school. But in college, you can easily take like survey topics that you've never heard of before. So like, yeah, like so I took a math class called Mathematics for Computer Science, and they just survey a bunch of different types of like math and stuff. And a lot of them were like unfamiliar to like me or my classmates. So in that sense, there's a lot of learning like on the fly, like Jennifer said. Personally, I found that at MIT, my classes were focused a lot more on like teaching pattern recognition and like developing more like logical process. So I think that rather than like memorization of the subject or like teaching towards a test, which I think was more the case in high school, I would say. And I think that makes it also a lot more application heavy for the classes, because you can see how something you take in your current class can apply to whatever you want to take next semester or in a few semesters. Like Jennifer said, I found that there's a lot of self-teaching because even at like top universities, there are teachers who don't suit your learning style. So I found that I was forced to, or like just chose to learn myself through like textbooks or whatever teaching materials were provided. So I think that's an important skill to develop throughout high school, if you don't already do so. Overall, my experience at MIT has been super rewarding, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, everyone.
感谢两位学姐以大学生的身份来为我们进行的经验分享。那我相信大家一定也现在有许多问题想问我们的嘉宾。那么接下来就是提问环节，各位同学和家长如果有问题的话，可以直接提问我们的嘉宾，也可以打在聊天框里。那目前我们已经收到了一些提问。第一个问题就是，在高中的时候该如何管理时间 ？So how to manage your time in high school? You can raise your hand if you wanna.
我们的嘉宾如果谁想要回答这个问题的话，就click 那个 raise hand button。Anyone want to answer the question, how to manage your time in high school?
I can go.
Yes, Gloria.
So basically, like in high school, I was a big fan of a planner and like calendar. I like very methodically like write out what I do every single day onto like a list. And then what I do is like, I don't know like about you, but like when you complete a task and you take like a red pen and just cross it out, it's just very satisfying. And so what I did in high school was that every single year I had some variation of a planner, and basically like I would like structure it. I would just like write out everything I do in a day, like even small things like, oh, like remember to do laundry, like, or like do projects. And I have this very like large PDF file on my like iPad. You can find a lot of free templates online, and it's basically like anything that like you need to be reminded to do. And I just find it like very satisfying to complete tasks, and at the end of the day, like go to sleep with that peace of mind that like you achieved something during the day.
Thank you, Gloria. That was a good suggestion. Thank you. 那我们来看一下下一个问题。下一个提问的是说，高中时期同样是游泳队，谁能说一下是选择学校内的还是学校外的更好呢？ So this person who gave this question basically says he or she was in the swimming team, and they want to know if like I don't know, like in school or out school swimming team, which one is better to be in? Are there like any one of you are in like sports or like swimming team can answer this question? Whether like you should be in the school team or like an outside club. Anyone want to answer this question?
I can. Oh, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I can answer this.
Thank you, Emily.
I think that if they go to Jericho, I think we really only have like a few sports that are like big enough that like colleges would look favorably upon that as like not just like a commitment, but like a recruiting thing. So I would suggest out of school, especially for the sports that aren't like very large, like boys soccer or like lacrosse, which are like I think more recruited in Long Island for sports than like others. So I would definitely suggest out of school. But it's also a really large time commitment to have like club sports. So if you're not planning on being recruited, I think in school is just as beneficial for like as a resume builder and like for like personal growth experience.
Can I also add something? Yeah, so I was in a similar experience. So I did like fencing for 4 years in school, but I was also competing outside, especially like in my freshman year. And so in my freshman year, like I basically like every single day or like a lot of days of the week, I would go to practice for 2 hours, like go to my meet and then go to like outside practice. So I wouldn't be home until like 10:30. And I realized how unsustainable this is. So like I think that like if you're able to kind of coordinate both, like if your coach will allow you to like skip some practices sometimes or like leave early and like being in school is important for you, then you should stay in school and try out of school. However, like if it's like a similar situation that I was in, like definitely like choose one. I think like number one, like as Ami mentioned, just think about like the success. Like, are you thinking about recruiting? Also like think about who is going to be on that team. Like, will you guys make it to counties? Like, is there potential for you guys to go very far? Just because like in my freshman year of fencing, we actually like we won like the first ever county championship. So that was very good. Yeah, like there are many factors like, and I highly recommend you to just like write them out so you can just like visualize them. And at the end of the day, it's like no matter what, like the situation is how you make it, and like there are benefits and disadvantages of either way. I hope that helped.
谢谢 Gloria 和 Emily 的分享。那下一个问题，如果是从初中时期从国内过来的学生需要规划老师的话，从几年级找比较好？So if the students move here from China in middle school, and if he needs a counselor outside of school, so at what time do you guys recommend he go and find one? Like what grade?
I don't know if any of you are coming from China, like in middle school. 我觉得嘉宾们好像都是比较小的在美国的，但是 I don't know if anyone can answer that. 但是我自己是初中过来的，所以我觉得虽然我是 I'm going to NYU next year， 但是我觉得我可以给一些建议，就是我认为初中过来的孩子，我们初中的时候应该要多阅读，然后要在初中的时候把英文弄得很扎实，要多阅读，然后多上一些英文课，然后在9年级，我认为9年级的时候可以开始找规划老师。我包括我身边很多的朋友，像我们这些中国来的孩子，国内来的孩子，都是大概在上9年级，就是高中的时候开始规划，因为很多比如说奖项什么的。一些奖项，比如说在初中获得奖，你都不是很好写到你的 resume， 不好写到你的简历里。如果你从高中以后开始规划，要做一些community service volunteer， 包括获奖的时候，从高中开始规划这些，是从9年级开始有这些奖项的话是很好的。所以我觉得9年级开始可以找辅导老师规划，然后初中的时候。 就是如果我们是初中来，就是在初中的时候把英文基础打好，因为相信我们这些半路来的孩子，英文都是一个比较算是一个弱点，所以 yeah， 有没有人想 ？Are there anyone who wants to add anything？
就我可以分享一些，因为我是9年级从中国来到美国的，就是我其实，在大学申请过程中，我是没有在校外找辅导，就是找那个辅导老师的，就是基本上虽然就是我去 University of Rochester 跟这些嘉宾比的，就是完全没有办法比，所以说我的意见就是一个参考，但是就是我觉得，因为其实学校的 counselor 他们真的可以给你很多的意见和建议，就是如果就是你有什么问题的话，就是其实都可以去找counselor 去问，然后自己也就是多关注一些就是自己兴趣爱好方面的一些竞赛啊，或者是 club 啊之类的东西。就是辅导老师这个东西，它其实只是在大学申请过程中，我认为是很小的一个影响因素。就是其实主要是看你自己，因为就是包括像 essay 啊这些东西，他辅导老师所能做的也很有限，就最多就是帮你改改 grammar 啊这些，因为最终大学他录取的是你，并不是你的辅导老师嘛，就是所以说就是在大学申请过程中保持自我是很重要的，反而我觉得就是不被别人的意见所影响，就是能一直保持，然后一直给大学展现一个真正的你自己，是非常重要的一件事情。
确实是这样的。然后我认为辅导老师他的一个意义就是你开始你有一个自己的 interest， 比如说我找我的辅导老师的时候，我是有找辅导老师的，我大概是9年级、10年级这时候开始跟着。我当时告诉他们，我喜欢什么，比如说我喜欢 psychology， 然后我说我大学要 major psychology， 然后他们就会帮我做一些，比如说帮我做一个自己的 non-profit about psychology， 跟心理有关的 non-profit， 然后一些 community service 跟这个有关，到时候就是在简历上的话，你就写得很好看，大概就是这样子。他们就是可以，你自己首先要有一个自己想要的东西，有一个自己的 path， 然后别人才可以帮助你往这条正确的路上走。OK， 那我们就来下一个问题吧。下一个问题是，能否请已经进入大学的同学介绍一下高中生入大学需要做好哪些准备？与高中生活相比，大学有哪些不同 ？So this question is for Jennifer and Emily. So they basically ask, what are the difference about comparing from high school to college? What are the difference? Like, what some prepares? What do we need to do to prepare? Yeah.
I would just say definitely do a lot of research about whatever school you're going to, what program or like major you want to take, even down to like the classes you want to take, what clubs you want to apply to and be involved in. Other than that, college is so different from high school because you literally don't have to do anything if you don't want to. Like, you don't even have to go to your classes. No one is going to force you to go. And yeah, that's something that I was really surprised by. But yeah, it's definitely important who you surround yourself with at college, because those people are going to be who like your environment. So if they push you, then you're going to want to work harder. So yeah, it's definitely important to still work hard in college, but I feel like it's more self-regulated as opposed to your family members and your teachers pushing you.
Definitely. Just to add to that, I think the only other thing I would say you should do to prepare is that you should be able to like learn a subject on your own, or like find resources on your own, because there's a lot of times in college where like your teacher won't like explicitly teach you in class something, but like they'll expect you to know, like it's part of either the textbook or like whatever. And yeah, so having that, it's also good because like she said, no one will force you to go to class if you don't want to. So like it opens like up a lot of time for like you to be flexible and like add more to your schedule, or like take from it if you know like how you can learn best, or like if you can learn something on your own, that'll like add a lot of freedom to your schedule and stuff. So that's the only thing I would say you should prepare in addition to like just going through high school.
Thank you, Emily and Jennifer. Thank you. 如果大家还有什么问题，也可以 feel free to just turn on your microphone and ask them. 如果有什么问题，也可以直接打开你的麦，直接来问我们的嘉宾。
我可以问一个问题吗？
可以 ，Go ahead.
OK 我想问一问，这个两位以前被录取的两位学生，两位学姐，孩子在写 essay 的时候，你们录的学校比较好，你们这个写的 college essay，在写的过程中，应该都是自己写的吧？这个写的过程中，你们有没有什么心得？谢谢。Do I need to speak English at all?
I mean, I understand kind of. So you're asking about like the college essays.
College essay, yes.
Right. So it depends on like definitely about like who writes it. Like I definitely say it's the college student who's supposed to write their own essays. People take it really seriously when it is plagiarized essays. So I would not suggest getting a college counselor to help write your kid's essay because you know, if you get caught about it, it's really like you could get in trouble. And also writing is a really important skill that you need to carry throughout your whole life. So college essays, it really shouldn't be a problem if you're trying to apply to higher education. Yeah, so my essays were pretty lengthy. You have to write like a Common App essay for every school you apply to. And then in addition to that, I had to write like 4 essays for Columbia. 2 of them were a little bit shorter, and then 2 of them were like 500 words. Were like 200, 300 words, I think. I don't really remember because it was a long time ago. But yeah, definitely have like your teachers or your friends to help read over your essays. And then also online, there are a lot of people posting like their old college essays on like TikTok or YouTube. So I think that's like a really great resource that you can check out.
If I can just add something to that, I think that like no matter how hard you try to stand out in high school, most of your resumes and most of the people applying will be like very, very similar. So like your essays and any time you get to like be personable with whoever reads your application is like important to like make a lasting impression, I think. So if the language barrier is a difficult part, I would say like write it in Mandarin or whatever first and then like have someone help translate it over. But I think it's very important to like be someone that like people reading it can connect to and like be personable and like express like what you're like in person and like as another not just as a student but like as a friend or like as like a normal like just a human like what you are like. I think that's important to convey through your essays because like everything else academic is basically in the rest of your application.
Can I add something? What colleges are looking for is they're looking for interesting people who do interesting things. So the best way to write a good essay is to actually do something that other people would consider interesting, maybe unusual for a high school student to do.
Yes, thanks Richard and Emily and Jennifer. So 大家还有什么别的问题吗？
Yeah, feel free to 直接问。
我再问一个问题。Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
I don't know how many of you have gone through the interview. So can you share a little bit more about your interview experiences? How do you guys prepare? And you know, what are your takeaways from those interviews? Thank you.
I could share some of my experience. So, well, I applied to quite a few colleges, and so I had quite a few interviews this year. All of them were virtual. So to prepare for them, well, pretty much first I just asked my school counselor for advice on how to prepare for it. And my counselor basically gave me a list of common questions that usually they'll ask. So I prepared a lot of answers for those questions, detailed answers about the questions. I also prepared some questions to ask the person interviewing me. I think that's important too, just both to show that you're very interested in the school. Hopefully your questions are pretty detailed too, so they know that you know a lot about the school already, and also it'll help you get some more information about the school that you couldn't necessarily easily get by just looking it up, because that question, a lot of times it's easier to get a more thorough answer if it comes from the experience of someone that actually went to that school. And then for the interview process as a whole, first of all, if you have a lot of interviews, a lot of times you can just prepare for all of the questions that typically come up in interviews once. But then for each school, you definitely need to be prepared to explain to the person interviewing you why you're very interested in that school. Definitely do a lot of research beforehand, maybe more research even than what you wrote in your essay, just so you can demonstrate you're very interested in that school. So yeah, that's really the only thing you have to prepare for each interview individually. Otherwise, the general questions that are typically asked, you can prepare for all of those. You could also look for some more common questions that might pop up online, but I think that for me, at least, the questions my counselor provided me, most of the questions, or pretty much all the questions, were basically within that list. They usually won't ask you something too like random or unexpected, because they're really just trying to get to know you more. And then overall, again, another tip for interview process is that really the goal is just to tell the person interviewing you more about yourself, why you're interested in the school, and maybe some things about you that might benefit your application that you didn't, benefit your admission chances that you didn't include in your application. So the goal is really to try to get the interview to benefit you as much as possible. I don't think the interview can really hurt you in any way. I don't think you'd be better off not doing the interview than doing it, because it's just really an opportunity to share something about yourself and demonstrate your interest in the school. So also just don't be too worried about the interview either. It's all really supposed to be more like a conversation, allowing the person interviewing you to get to know you more, get to know why you're interested in the school, share some things about you to the university, and also for you to get some more questions about the university answered. So those are my general tips.
I can also, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Gloria. Thank you.
Also add something very quick. Something that I recommend doing is to email the school ahead of time. Before I submitted my application, I was actually able to have an interview with the School of Nursing, just to talk about why I want to do nursing and some recommendations. These interviews, a lot of times they're informal, and they're not trying to catch you saying anything bad, or they're not looking for a way to not accept you. If anything, the interview can help you. And another thing I want to add is just make sure that you utilize all the resources. For example, because the last year was virtual and you couldn't really visit schools, a lot of universities and colleges spent a lot of money and technology and effort into bettering their websites and all their online resources. So Penn actually had all of these seminars, and one seminar was about the interview process. And at the end of the meeting, she actually like the presenter actually said, like everyone who's here, like ask your interviewer these 2 questions about Penn, and like that will like benefit you. So like that's like something I did not expect, but like little things like that can really help you. And I feel like interviews, like they're just trying, like they're just like a conversation, like William said. Fun fact, in my presentation, like I talked to my interviewer for like 45 minutes about baking a cake. It was like it wasn't anything academic. Like they don't get your resume or anything you do ahead of time, but it's just like strike up something that like you're interested in, and maybe if they're interested in that too, you can just like carry on a conversation. But yeah, like I ended up finishing up like my interview, like knowing, like being very happy about applying early to Penn, and like really being like, I really want to go to Penn. Like you should feel that way after an interview. Like if you don't feel that way after an interview, then like maybe that school is not the best for you.
Wow, thank you.
我也可以来说一些就关于 interview，因为我在申请过程中，我也就是进行了一个 interview，就是除了他们所说的，就是我觉得有一点很重要，就是因为 interview 它其实是一个展现你自己的机会，因为就是大学的那些招生官，他在看到你的申请的时候，就是包括你的 essay， 然后你的成绩单那些，其实他们也都只是就是一张纸，或者就是一些数字。就是如果想让他们更好的能够了解你这个人，那 interview 是个很好的机会。但是就是我觉得有很重要的一点，就是说不要因为就是想要为了准备一个很好的 interview， 然后就是很紧张，然后写了很多东西，然后反而到时候就是跟你的 interviewer 在聊天的过程中就是会结结巴巴，这样反而会给他们留下不好的印象。就是自信是很重要的，就是我就是其实也不用做太过多的准备，因为就像 Gloria 说的，他就是问你的问题其实都会是一些很平常的，就像聊天一样的。就是可能大学只是想更多的了解你这个人，而并不是你在学术方面的成就，因为所有你的一些东西都在你的 transcript 或者你的 resume 上全都已经有了，所以说他们就是只是想更多的能够了解你作为一个人，而不是作为一个学生，就是平时是什么样子，所以自信是非常重要的。
Thank you so much.
Yeah, 非常感谢 William、Gloria 和 Charles 的分享，他们这么 thorough 和 complete 的 answer， 非常感谢这么细心的答案。后面大家还有什么问题吗？还有什么问题现在可以问？如果没有什么问题的话，那我们今天的提问环节就先到这儿了。如果各位还有什么问题的话，以后有什么问题也可以随时联系华人协会。然后再次非常感谢这几位同学花时间给我们分享这些宝贵的经验，也祝你们在大学一帆风顺。CAJ 会后续送给每个嘉宾一份小礼物，感谢你们能够来参加这个活动分享经验。活动负责人会后续和每位嘉宾联系。
希望今天的 Senior Night 能为各位学弟学妹和家长们答疑解惑，同时也祝你们在未来的申请道路上披荆斩棘，能够进入大家的梦校。2021 CAJ Senior Night 到此结束，谢谢大家。
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.